Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You know, actions speak louder than words. That's true. Look at someone's actions more than his words. It's true that sometimes we act in a certain way in order to cover something up or, to deceive a person to trust us. That's how you build trust. But anyway, always actions are more important, more valid than words. Why? We can say whatever we want, but we can't do whatever we want. So that's one an aspect. And this article that I have here for this video is Vladimir Putin, who, as you know, he is portrayed as being almost as evil as Adolf, because we can't have anybody else surpassing Adolf for obvious reasons. And the obvious reasons are the copyright, the trademark that he has for certain kind of interests in order to promote certain kind of things. In this case, we have Putin, who's almost as evil as Adolf. Now, this is what they say. As I said, we have to look at the actions, and obviously actions could be, you invaded a sovereign country and you're the bad dude, and you're a bad dude, and you are mad, you are irrational, you are, crazy basically. But in your craziness, your actions do not support your craziness that the free world assigns you. So this is, I think, another example why I think Putin is not crazy whatsoever, and I think he is much moderate than many around his little, party, government. People say, well, he's the dictator. Again, another word thrown over there without much evidence. And this article I'm going to read, I think, is just running against the narrative that I just said, dictator, crazy, and all that. This comes from an Ukrainian mass media, which is Ukrainska Pravda. So they must be telling the truth, and wouldn't be in their interest to report this as they report it. Okay, let's see. This article comes from today, Monday, the 19th of December, 2022. Putin postponed attack on Ukraine 3 times. FSB insisted on it. So he postponed it 3 times, Putin. But then you have the FSB insisted. I think FSB, I think, is the name of former KGB, I think. I think I'm right, but anyway, it's the Federal Security Services. And he postponed it 3 times. You can interpret this action, which is, we're not going to do it, as, and probably this would be the interpretation of the weasels, will be, oh, he was scared. I think that would be the interpretation. Why? Because they start from the premises that Putin is evil, criminal, stupid, crazy, so therefore you can't give another interpretation than that. He was scared, he was afraid, he had doubts, he was not so, a strong leader as he tries to appear in his pictures, shirtless and all that. You know how the weasels look at this, like clearly like kindergarten, I don't want to call them children, because if you're in kindergarten, you're a child. I know, subject. I don't know how to call it, that little kid. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin postponed the full-scale invasion of Ukraine 3 times. The initiator of the attack was the Federal Security Services, FSB, of the Russian Federation. So that is like CIA, let's say, or FBI, CIA together, one of these guys. They initiated, they wanted it. Are these guys the same as we are at the of the intelligence services? Then all this facade of Putin being, the the most evil person over there and being in charge really collapses. If your security services have something to say, it's kind of weird, isn't it? A dictator should not listen to anybody. The dictator is omni-powerful, overpowerful, full powerful, ever powerful. Well, it doesn't show that way. Putin has all kind of security meetings with their council and all this. He asks people, doesn't have to listen to them. Do you think that all these things are just for show, for us to think that that's democracy over there? Do you think he pays that much attention so we don't categorize him as a dictator? Do you think a dictator really cares about it? Again, there's contradictions. If I'm a dictator, I don't give a what those guys say. And I don't have to ask anybody. I don't have to waste my time pretending in front of the cameras that I have a meeting with, I don't know, Security Council for, 8 hours to discuss things. Oh, it's okay, you didn't discuss. You just told them what to do. Why do I waste my time like that? I can go and waste it with other things, more pleasurable. Well, anyway, so the source is Vadim Skibitsky. Skibitsky. Every time I read Skibitsky, for me it's like exhibitionist, the ones that like show himself. That's what Skibitsky. Deputy head of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, in an interview with the German newspaper Bild on 18th of December. So the head of intelligence defense of Ukraine must know that, as the Brits and the Americans knew about Saddam's weapons of mass destructions. A-OK. And I'm quoting Mr. Skibitsky. According to our information, the attack was postponed 3 times, the last time in mid-February. End quote. We're going to discuss why. According to Skibitsky, Putin has repeatedly discussed the idea of an invasion with Valery Gerasimov, chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, and Sergei Shoigu, defense minister, but it was the FSB that insisted. So why did he talk with these guys? Why didn't he just tell them, hey, you do it, I say so? But he had the power to postpone it. After all, he's the commander-in-chief or whatever he is, right? Or the dictator. Quote, they, in parentheses says, the FSB officers, were sure that they were sufficiently prepared for the invasion. They invested huge resources and pushed Gerasimov to attack. So the, let's say, FBI, or CIA, let's put it, CIA, made a military to invade a country, basically. And the president was just looking how these guys determine what should be done, since he's the big bad wolf, the dictator. Okay. Well, you can tell these kind of stories to a certain level of, but I don't know how old must you be to just bite this and say, yeah, that's exactly what I think it is. I don't know, maybe 13? Above 13, you should start asking questions like, I have a question right here. I don't think, it's very clear. So, the fact that Russian units were provided with food, ammunition, and fuel for 3 days during the attempt to capture Kiev shows how much they miscalculated. All the first military targets failed. They could not surround Kiev and could not take Sumy, Chernihiv, and Kharkiv. This is what Skibitsky says. We were alive during the Kiev little thing, and we all know that the Russians did not start massive bombardment on Kiev or going with, 2,000 tanks entering Kiev and flattening it out. All right? If a crazy dictator, crazy guy would have done that, did Russia have the capability? Yes. They didn't do it. Why? So this guy they couldn't do it, they were not able. I don't think that was the goal at that point. Maybe it was, I don't know, he doesn't know. If I had a goal to take Kiev, I would have done it and I would have taken Kiev, that's for sure. Losses, yes. Civilian dead, unfortunately, but Kiev would have fallen if I would be a crazy guy, dictator, irrational, and so on. But they didn't take it, not because they couldn't. They came to and they sent 2 little tanks inside, and then, oh my God, the Ukrainians were so ready, they couldn't fight it. All right, that's a way of looking at these things. These are the facts. The facts are that the Russians retreated. That's true. The facts are that they retreated. Now, what happened? As I said, we have alternate hypothesis here. This guy says they couldn't. Others say they didn't want to. Others say it was a tactical maneuver so they can keep the Ukrainian broken in two at least, so they can take care of them where they actually wanted to take care of it. And did they miscalculate? Probably. I don't think they miscalculated. They miscalculated the Western involvement. That's what I think. They were not prepared to be the sponsors to be so determined in their goals of taking care of Russia. That's what I think they didn't expect. Because remember when the Ukrainians and the Russians met in Turkey, they met and the Ukrainians offered certain things. So at that time Ukraine was time out. And why was time out? Because of certain attacks. The Russians attacked and they achieved most of their goals by then. I'm talking about territorial. And then all of a sudden Boris Johnson shows up in Kiev and everything changes, which says we're going to give you everything, just keep dying here, and we're going to save your country and Europe and the world from the bad, crazy dictator. Now, why didn't Putin attack? That's I don't know. I can only discuss around what I know about things, but I might be very off. I don't know if he really thought that he can bring the Americans to the negotiating table, because that was finished in December. The last attempt and the clearest, like a pinnacle of the attempt, was in December when Lavrov, the foreign ministry, issued Blinken, the Secretary of State here, Secretary of State Department. State Department sent a proposal to discuss the security guarantees for Russia and all that. And the Americans did not even answer to that. So that was like, we don't have a partner, as the Russians call the Westerns and everybody else. We don't have a partner to discuss anything. What else I'm supposed to do? And these guys are doing what they're doing. I'm just waiting for them to come and shoot me in the head. I have to do something. Do I defend the Russians? No, but I'm looking at the facts. I mean, you want Ukraine to have, as a Russian, do you want Ukraine to have rockets pointed to your country? And if you say yes, that means you would like to have Russian rockets in, let's say, Mexico, or I don't know, Guatemala, or Honduras, or Cuba. And if you don't like that, why would the other ones want it? And I'll tell you why. Because you think you're good and you think that they are bad. That's the only way. And this is a childish, dogmatic way of thinking. All right? So, 3 times postponed it. Not ready? Maybe. He thought he was not ready. Maybe he wanted to try again. We will find out the transcripts of those conversations probably in a few years. And I will definitely let you know as soon as I find out what they discussed and what were the arguments not to attack at that time. They had to attack at one point because the Ukrainians were attacking the other guys. So if they said that the Ukrainians are Nazis, if they said the Ukrainians and the NATO and all that, they had to react somehow, sooner or later. It was not the proper time. Was Putin in, I don't know, having some problems? I don't know. We'll find out anyway. They will let us know little by little. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.